We face a complicated global economic outlook, and there really is a pressing need for the two largest economies, the U.S. and China, to closely communicate on global macro and financial conditions, and as I mentioned, to cooperate on to address global economic challenges. So with respect to U.S.-China relations, as the administration has stated, responsibly managing relations between the world's two largest economies has always been vitally important, and it is particularly so today. As the leader said in Bali, we have a responsibility to work together on shared challenges, and our approach to China underscores our overall priorities. We want to advance our national security interests while at the same time having a healthy economic relationship with China. We remain committed to maintaining open lines of communication with China so that we can prevent miscalculation that could lead to conflict. And I think it's also important for the U.S. to be very clear that we don't seek to decouple from China. We don't seek to limit China's growth in any way. Sometimes we need to take targeted national security-related actions, and we'll always stand up to unfair economic practices. But there's plenty of scope for an economic relationship that benefits both of us. In terms of a formal or standardized dialogue, it's not something I necessarily see on the horizon right in front of us. I think more important right now will be to continue to build up the contacts. Secretary Yellen said she'd be interested in going to China. The Chinese said they'd very much like to have her come. And so I think the phrase that both sides have used is, they'd like her to go at the appropriate time. So I think moving it in those directions to increase the contact, we've said we'd love to have counterparts come back to the United States from China as well. So I think getting those kinds of contacts reestablished and deepened is really an important step now. When you talk about some of the technology restrictions or things like that, I think in some ways I like to make clear to keep those distinct in one way, which is those aren't economic measures aimed at economic competitiveness. They're not things we're doing to benefit the U.S. economically vis-a-vis China. They're situations where, for clear national security objectives, the United States has decided to put in place certain things. And so I think our goal is always to be narrowly targeted, as targeted as appropriate, as narrow as appropriate. I think from the communication side, I think an essential thing there becomes trying to make sure we're able to communicate to our Chinese counterparts why we are doing what we are doing, what we are doing, and that they can communicate back if they see, consequences that are unintended, that we understand that as well. So I think that dialogue can be really important as you are dealing with those national security issues.